Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, I wanted to discuss something interesting that's going on in the OCG. Now, if you don't know, currently in the OCG, this new ban list is in effect, with a whole bunch of tier cards finally being limited, as well as the Kashtira cards also being heavily limited, because these were the two best decks by far, so lots of limitations. Most notably, things like Kit Kalos being banned to basically just entirely shut down any semblance of consistency with the Tearlaments stuff. That was the idea. Shut down this, prevent them from actually being able to consistently go into your tier cards to make it a little bit more inconsistent there. Then you kind of like need to hard draw either like a name replacer, like for example King of the Swamp or something along those lines, or you need to just hard draw the materials to actually use the tiers to fusion summon. And then on top of that, limiting things like Sheeran, Rhinoheart, as well as Havness means that the deck's power level is significantly worse. And then on top of that, there's a whole bunch of other semi-limitations and unlimits and stuff like that. So this shook up the meta quite a bit, and this was the meta after the ban list. Now, prior to the ban list, it was tier 0 through and through, right? It was Kashtira, and that was it. Now, Tri-Brigade was the deck that seemed to be coming out on top. As we see, it's Tri-Brigade, mostly with Splight, some other variations, but, you know, lots of Tri-Brigade, mostly with the Sprite variant stuff, and even non-Tri-Brigade stuff. I'm literally repeating myself. Non-Tri-Brigade variants of Sprite now being the best deck. And now, again, if we go back to this, Swap Frog is currently at 2. I think it was at 1 previously. They still have Ronin Totem, I believe. They also have access to, or they don't actually have access to Toad, I believe. But they can still do like the Nimble Beaver stuff and all of that. So like the Tri-Brigade stuff is actually boosting their consistency. However, this was right after the ban list where this metagame report came out, and as you can see by the number 0, it's kind of something where it's like, well, this is kind of just everyone throwing stuff at the wall, seeing what sticks. As we can see, a lot of other decks are also playable, even, that's right, Tier. Tier still was kind of floating around, but more recently, something interesting has happened. Or maybe not interesting, but Tier is back. Tier is once again the best deck of the format in the OCG. How did this happen? Well, the Shizu cards still exist, and the ability to just mill your way to success is still possible. Tier being able to play insane just cards in general with all of these incredible fusions, most notably using the Shadal package in order to, you mill your cards, you go and then activate your, you mill your cards, you go into your Shadals, and then your Shadals are able to floodgate your opponent and prevent them from playing the game. Yeah, that's basically it. We still have access to the Ishizu stuff. We have enough tier names to get enough fusion summons. We also have a whole bunch of other things that can help us, like the polymerization, the Swamp King, and the like, to just really help out and make things ever so clean for us. And with as many generic cards that you can fusion summon into, Guardian Chimera, Winda, Dragostapelia, the new Dark World fusion, Mud Dragon, all of these different things help to just make the deck basically do what it did previously, except just with some slight variations, and it's just not as consistent. Now, granted, Ishizu Tier, or more specifically Tearlaments, Danger was very popular in the TCG and was still a deck that was hanging around even prior to the Ishizu stuff. Now, with the Ishizu stuff, it is Tier 0, but prior to that, they were still just kind of hoping to hit things correctly. And as you can see, even now, that is still kind of the case. Yes, you have less tier names, but with the Ishizu stuff to help support that, you should be able to at least do something. Now, granted, this doesn't mean that the Tri-Brigade cards are not entirely out of the meta. as we can see here, lots of Tri-Brigade is still playable. It's the second most popular deck, more specifically with the Splight stuff. And there are a whole bunch of other decks still vying for place within the meta, which means that overall I think the hits were good, but I just found it to be quite interesting that there were so many limitations to tier, and yet they still come out on top, just proving how absolutely absurd this deck is with its consistency. And the Ishizu cards really do help it out, right? Having access to the shufflers with the Keldo and Mudora, as well as having access to Agito and Kelbeck to potentially help you just like consistently get more names into your graveyard is absolutely insane. So yeah, that's kind of all that I wanted to say. Just kind of an interesting time currently in the OCG. Also, finally, Runic is now one of the best decks in the current format. Are we surprised? No, because floodgates are absolutely everywhere. As you can see, there are no limitations on any of these floodgates. And with the lower power level, now that tier isn't everywhere and being able to just do whatever it freaking wants, as well as milling out the opponent as well, Runic just has a better time. It has a much better matchup against things like Tri-Brigade and Tri-Brigade Sprite, as well as just, you know, being something that, hey, floodgates are good. Also, they have this new card that we don't have in the in Master Duel that helps like actually do stuff in battle, which is pretty cool. So there's that. And then Sky Striker. I don't know why this is the top deck. I guess it's just more of a thing like the OCG really likes Sky Striker. Yes, they do have linkage, but I really don't think that I don't know if that's really going to push it above the rest. It's definitely not going to in the TCG, I'll tell you that. But hey, maybe I guess having the second engage really mattered. But all things considered, the meta is shaping out to be rather diverse, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But hey, at least it's not all tier, right? Anyway, that's kind of all I wanted to say, is just tier isn't going anywhere unless they absolutely nuke it into the ground, even more so than we would originally have anticipated. And same with Splight. Splight is not going anywhere, just mostly due to the fact that its cards, Sprind, Elf, and Gigantic, are absolutely insane. So, yeah, I hope everyone is ready for those. If you play Master Duel, these will eventually come to the game, probably. If you don't play Master Duel, I'm sorry that you are going to experience the tier meta for the next 5 years. Anyway, that's all. Hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, like us very much so appreciated it. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.